to thecalmzone.net, and any amount that you can give will help Calm keep up their amazing work for people who need it most, particularly during this time of isolation where we can feel somewhat, I suppose, distance from other people, and we can spend a lot of time in our own heads. So if you have anything that you can give to the Calm Zone this evening, that would be amazing. And yeah, so can someone just let me know that I am indeed on my own Instagram and not on the Counterfeit Instagram? Am I here on my own? Some people are having a chat, some people are doing art stuff, I don't know. I think Connor from Nothing But Thieves is going to be singing a song this evening, so I'll be tuning into that, and I will give you the handle of the next person who's going to be coming along to share at the end in about half an hour or so. So what I would like to do, if it's okay with you guys, is I have chosen to read a passage from Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I just thought it would be a nice opportunity for us all to get a bit cozy, for us to settle in and have a nice night. So if you have a cup of tea at the ready, or a coffee, as I do, as it's early here in Los Angeles, get that, and we'll settle in and we'll read. So this passage here that I've chosen to read is just as our central character is coming to Dracula's house. He's just arrived. Just as I had come to this conclusion, I heard a heavy step approaching behind the great door, and saw through the chinks the gleam of a coming light, save for a long white moustache, and clad in black from head to foot, without a single speck of colour about him anywhere. He held in his hand an antique silver lamp, in which the flame burned without a chimney or globe of any kind, throwing long, quivering shadows as it flickered in the draught of the open door. The old man motioned me in with his right hand, with a courtly gesture, saying in his excellent English, but with a strange intonation, "Welcome to my house. Enter freely, and of your own will." He made no motion of stepping to meet me, but stood like a statue, as though his gesture of welcome had fixed him into stone. The instant, however, that I stepped over the threshold, he moved impulsively forward, and, holding out his hand, grasped mine with a strength which made me wince, an effect which was not lessened by the fact that it seemed cold as ice, more like the hand of a dead than a living man. Again he said, "Welcome to my house. Come freely, go safely, and leave something of the happiness you bring." The strength of the handshake was so much akin to that which I had noticed in the driver, whose face I had not seen, that for a moment I doubted if it were not the same person to whom I was speaking. So, to make sure, I said interrogatively, "Count Dracula?" He bowed in a courtly way as he replied, "I am Dracula, and I bid you welcome, Mr. Harker, to my house. Come in. The night air is chill, and you must need to eat and rest." As he was speaking, he put the lamp on a bracket on the wall, and stepping out, took my luggage. He had carried it in before I could forestall him. I protested, but he insisted, "Nay, sir, you are my guest. It is late, and my people are not available. Let me see to your comfort myself." He insisted on carrying my traps along the passage, and then up a great winding stair, and along another great passage on whose stone floor our steps rang heavily. At the end of this, he threw open a heavy door, and I rejoiced to see within a well-lit room in which a table was spread for supper, and on whose mighty hearth a great fire of logs flamed and flared. The Count halted. Putting down my bags, closed the door, and crossing the room, opened another door which led into a small octagonal hollow roar up the wide chimney. The Count himself left my luggage inside and withdrew, saying before he closed the door, "You will need after your journey to refresh yourself by making toilet. I trust you will find all you wish." When you are ready, come into the other room where you will find your supper prepared. The light and warmth and the Count's courteous welcome seemed to have dissipated all my doubts and fears. Having then reached my normal state, I discovered that I was famished with hunger, so making a hasty toilet, I went into the other room. Who stood on one side of the great fireplace, leaning against the stonework, made a graceful wave of his hand to the table. I handed him the seal letter which Mr. Hawkins had entrusted to me. He opened it and read it gravely. Then, with a charming smile, he handed it to me to read. One passage of it, at least, gave me a thrill of pleasure. I must regret that an attack of gout, from which I malady am a constant sufferer, forbids absolutely any travelling on my part for some time to come, but I am happy to say I can send a sufficient substitute, one in whom I have every possible confidence. He is a young man, full of energy and talent in his own way, and of a very faithful disposition. He is discreet and silent, and has grown into manhood in my service. He shall be ready to attend on you when you will during his stay, and shall take your instructions in all matters. The Count himself came forward and took off the cover of a dish, and I fell to at once on an excellent roast chicken. This, with some cheese and a salad and a bottle of old Tokay, of which I had 2 glasses, was my supper. During the time I was eating it, the Count asked me many questions as to my journey, and I told him by degrees all I had experienced. By this time, I had finished my supper, and by my host's desire had drawn up a chair by the fire and began to smoke a cigar which he offered me, at the same time excusing himself that he did not smoke. I had now an opportunity of observing him, and found him of a very marked physiognomy. His face was a very strong aquiline, with high bridge of the thin nose, and peculiarly arched nostrils, with lofty domed forehead and hair growing scantily round the temples, but profusely elsewhere. His eyebrows were very massive, almost meeting over the nose, and with bushy hair that seemed to curl into its own profusion. The mouth, so far as I could see it under the heavy moustache, was fixed and rather cruel-looking, with peculiarly sharp white teeth. These protruded over the lips, whose remarkable ruddiness showed astonishing vitality in a man of his years. For the rest, his eyes were pale, and at the tops extremely pointed. The chin was broad and strong, and the cheeks firm, though thin. The general effect was one of extraordinary pallor. Hitherto, I had noticed the backs of his hands as they lay on his knees in the firelight, and they had seemed rather white and fine, but seeing them now close to me, I could not but notice that they were rather coarse, broad, with squat fingers. Strange to say, there were hairs in the center of the palm. The nails were long and fine and cut to a sharp point. As the Count leaned over me and his hands touched me, I could not repress a shudder. It may have been that his breath was rank, but a horrible feeling of for a while. And as I looked towards the window, I saw the first dim streak of the coming dawn. There seemed a strange stillness over everything. But as I listened, I heard, as if from down below in the valley, the howling of many wolves. The Count cannot enter into the feelings of the hunter. Then he rose and said, "But you must be tired. Your bedroom is all ready, and tomorrow you shall sleep as late as you will. I have to be away until the afternoon, so sleep well and dream well." And with a courteous bow, he opened for me himself the door to the octagonal room. It is again early morning, but I have rested and enjoyed the last 24 hours. I slept till late in the day and awoke of my own accord. When I had dressed myself, I went into the room where we had supped and found a cold breakfast laid out, with coffee kept hot by the pot being placed on the hearth. There was a card on the table, on which was written, "I have to be absent for a while. Do not wait for me. D." So I set to and enjoyed a hearty meal. When I had done, I looked for a bell so that I might let the servants know that I had finished, but I could not find one. There are certainly odd deficiencies in the house, considering the extraordinary evidences of wealth which are around me. The table service is of gold and so beautifully wrought that it must be of immense value. The curtains and upholstery of the chairs and sofas and the hangings of my bed are of the costliest and most beautiful fabrics, and must have been of fabulous value when they were made, for they are centuries old, though in excellent order. I saw something like them in Hampton Court, but they were worn and frayed and moth-eaten. But still, in none of the rooms is there a mirror. There is not even a toilet glass on my table, and I had to get the little shaving glass from my bag before I could either shave or brush my hair. I have not seen a servant anywhere, or heard a sound near the castle except for the howling of wolves. When I had finished my meal, I do not know whether to call it breakfast or dinner, for it was between 5 and 6 o'clock when I had it, I looked about for something to read, for I did not like to go about the castle until I had asked the Count's permission. There was absolutely nothing in the room, book, newspaper, or even writing materials. So I opened another door in the room and found a sort of library. The door opposite mine I tried, but found locked. Well, I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to stop it there. How lovely. So, I mean, I hate to sort of pass that by so quickly, but Dracula, man, love Dracula. And stories, I mean, reading, when we're in lockdown and when we're in confinement, books and stories are so important. It's so important to keep our minds filled with stories. Other people's stories, not our own stories. So if you're looking for something to do, find a book. Find a good book. And do I still have my band? Yes, I still have my band. What is your favourite book of all time? Oh, this shows a lot about me. Well, I remember when I was about 15 or 16, discovering Salinger and discovering Jack Kerouac, particularly, books like On the Road, and Allen Ginsberg too, the beat poet. He wrote a poem called Howl, which I was going to read today actually, but it's way too long and I can't do a very good Ginsberg impression, so I decided not to. So anything of that sort of ilk is amazing. Salinger I particularly love. Any Salinger. Oh, again, I was going to read another Salinger poem, a Salinger story today, called I think it's called A Perfect Day for Banana Fish, but it's quite sad. So I decided not to. I decided that we should dive into the world of Dracula instead. What are you doing when you feel overwhelmed by this situation? What are you doing to calm? Overwhelmed by this situation recently. I don't think that I was really aware of how overwhelmed that I was feeling. I think also I've been doing quite a lot as well during this time. I've sort of been trying to reach out to people as well and make sure that people know that everything's okay, and I'm not really looking after myself very well. But I meditate a lot, and I breathe. I've recently started doing, which is amazing. Please make sure you read all about it before you do it. If you have any underlying health conditions, it's important that you do read about it, because it's quite an intense, as honest as possible, and sometimes it takes a little bit more to kind of get to the root cause of the problem. I mean, at the moment, I was due to start a job very soon rather, and I don't know when that's going to begin now. And but still in my mind I was going, oh God, when's it going to begin? But I wasn't really aware of it, and I thought that, oh my gosh, everything else is getting in the way. But actually I just had to be honest about how I was feeling, and I got there in the end. Just had to talk it out. Who is your favourite character that you've ever played? Probably Christopher Marlowe. Yeah, I love playing Marlowe. He was amazing. I mean, I love all the characters I've ever played, but Marlowe. Yeah. What inspires you? Everything. Nature, love, connection, the divine, reality, humanity, spirit, soul, life and death. For a long time, I think I was very fascinated by the idea of our own mortality, in a strange way. So, I think just the sort of fallibility of human nature and of human existence. I think reality, emotions. I say this often, but I don't write songs about having a nice watch or having a nice car, because I don't think that shit's real. My anxiety is through the roof lately. Are there any tips? Guided meditation, talking, breathing, taking it easy. Take it easy. Take it simple. I was reading something the other day actually online about how we're sort of being bombarded at the moment by people saying, oh, you've got all this time, so finish that book you were going to write and do all those things that you were going to do, but this time is stressful enough, you know, and if you're feeling overwhelmed by it, then that's okay. Take time for yourself. Listen to something nice. Breathe. That's what I do. Besides reading, what have you been doing to keep sane in quarantine? Writing both music and poetry, trying to stay sane whilst doing that, talking to my friends often, and what else have I been doing? Cooking, a lot of cooking, mindfulness practice, trying to live day to day, not thinking about the future, just being here, being present, being now. Listening to podcasts. I listen to an amazing podcast called On Being, which is hosted by a person called Krista Tippett, who is an incredibly sort of spiritual and connected and wise individual, and she interviews a broad spectrum of people, from monks to Zen masters to scientists to poets to, I think, an astronaut or something. I don't know, I can't remember. And she pulls out a new, we get a new podcast from her every week, every Thursday. So yeah, Krista On Being, very, very good. I thoroughly recommend that. Do you stock up on food enough? Yes, I panic buy. No, I haven't. We haven't panic buyed here. We've been very good. A lot of vegetables. I mean, that's kind of what we do, is we buy a lot of vegetables and we make a lot of soup, and then we'll freeze the soup just so that we can keep it. We are pescatarian in this household. We do not eat red meat or pork or anything like that. So vegetables mainly, and then occasionally, if we're feeling naughty, we'll have a fish. Anyone else got a question, or shall we wrap this up? I want to be your friend. You are my friend. We're all friends. We're all deeply connected. Remember that. Do you miss your family? I do miss my family. I wrote a poem about missing my family. Maybe I'll read it just to say goodbye, because I think this is something that we're all going through at the moment. I think that we sort of go through these times of like missing people, and that's totally fine. Like, that's totally fine. Here we go. Right, so to round this off with someone's question, yes, I'm going to read the poem. It's very short and it's very sweet, and it was just how I was feeling at the moment. So to round this off and to say thank you, I am going to read this poem called I Miss My Home. And it's not great, but it is what it is, and that's okay. Again, this has been for Calm at the Calm Zone or thecalmzone.net. who are a charity that help with mental health support and are trying to raise awareness of the need for mental health support amongst our community as a global community, and the support for young men particularly, and men when it comes to suicide. I have known a lot of people that have sadly taken their own life, and I know that they certainly felt like there wasn't enough help and that they didn't have the space to be able to talk. And if there's one thing that I can say upon leaving you here, it's that talk. It's okay. It's okay to talk. It's okay to let it go. It's okay to be vulnerable. I know it's scary. Trust me. I know. But honestly, talking and supporting one another is the only way that we can help one another. So, if you need their help, Calm's help, you can call them. They have a number. You can email them. They are there. I know they are there. I have met them. They are amazing people. They are lovely, lovely people. And if you do have any spare change that you can donate online today, I know that we're all suffering at the moment, but thecalmzone.net would be amazing. And I'm going to lead you out here with a poem called I Miss My Home. I miss my home, my mother too. I miss my brother, our family zoo. I miss the shouting, hurry up. I miss you all. To you with love. And that's it. That's it. That's all I could give. But that's, you know, it's sweet. It is. I'm totally embarrassed. That's all it is. So, yes, next up, my friends, you have Ed Gamble. And you can go to @EdGambleComedy, and he will be doing something. Who knows what it will be? But head over to @EdGambleComedy for the next installment of the Calm Lock-In. I hope you've enjoyed your time here today. I have really, really enjoyed it. And please go follow Calm @CalmZone, and yeah, that would be perfect. @CalmZone, thecalmzone.net, if you want to go on their website. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to be here. Lots of love. Stay safe and stay well. Bye.